Welcome back, everybody, to the Star Wars podcast, where we talk all things Marvel, Star Wars, and everything in between. Please take a moment to check our show notes to find our social media, merch, and more. Today, we are recapping Andor episode 10 in full spoiler details. So if you haven't seen the episode, I would get out of here. And I'm joined by two great gentlemen. Really, really excited. I've become a big fan of these guys' podcasts. I think they're just really good, well-rounded gentlemen. So I couldn't be more honored to be joined here by Zach and Kyle. Guys, how are you?
Great. How are you?
Yeah,
Good.
how are you?
I am great. Very excited to be doing this. Kyle, I'm gonna throw it to you first, because I hear a lot from Zach. I did a podcast with Zach, but I'm excited to get some chatter going with you. I want to get your takes here. Andor, here we are, episode 10. We've got 2 episodes left. What have you thought about this series as a whole?
So far it's been pretty intense. I'll say that for sure. To be honest, I haven't been watching the show for a while, but I binge watched actually the last 3 episodes. So it kind of worked out. It was actually an arc for us being in Arcana 5, for the prison for Andor. So I thought that kind of worked out, but it kind of gave me a very big surprising shock to what happened throughout this really cool arc. And I'm excited for what's going to be happening in the future. I see Andor has kind of redeemed himself. We got an introduction to a new character, and I love the whole arc essentially, and I love how it's been going so far, and I'm excited for how the last 2 episodes are going to be.
Yeah, no, I think this is like, I'm just so giddy. I said it in the Discord that we're both in that, like, I wasn't super high on it to start, but like now I'm starting to realize, those were the footsteps needed to get to where we are now. And like every episode is just like a nice big warm bowl of popcorn, and I just can't get enough. So, Zach, what about you? You got the Andor poster, like you're raring to go. I'll ask you more specifically. Episode 10. What'd you think?
Loved it. Absolutely loved it. I thought it was a blast. The last few episodes kind of have been building up to this big moment. And I think for sure it has paid off. I don't think it was as big of a scale as what I think it was episode 6 was. But that's completely fine. I thought this had way more tension, way more character development, and I think we're really starting to see Andor grow as a rebellion against this cause.
Yeah, it's interesting because we don't really, I guess there are like a lot of action set pieces in this, but like, especially in the second half, it's like the action is on the back burner in a little bit. And what I really appreciate about this show is a lot of like the confrontations, a lot of the battles are in dialogue and the way people talk to each other. I mean, we got so many different examples of that in this episode with Luthen and Lonnie, with Mon and Davo. Like every single conversation is kind of like a mini war with words. And I just think it's so well written. I think especially this episode, just chef's kiss. I loved it.
Yeah, I thought for sure the conversation between Luthen and Lonnie was like, I was taken back, like so much tension and everything. Like, it was amazing.
Yeah.
I think it was pretty interesting just seeing how it's like you said, a war of the words instead of war of the worlds. I think it's a really cool way of announcing it that way. And yeah, it's such a different way of looking at it. Like, yes, we're so used to seeing actual fight scenes and all that. And yes, we did see that in episode 10. But just seeing all the like you said, all the actions now in the kind of back burner for these ones, it's kind of interesting seeing how it's now being manipulated in this show and how it's being added. But it kind of pays off in the end once you get through all the dialogue and all that.
Do either of you watch Succession?
I want to.
Yeah.
No, unfortunately. I never heard of it, actually.
I've heard nothing but amazing things.
Yeah. It's an HBO show, and it's basically it's about corporate America, really. And like, at first glance, you're like, okay, why am I going to watch this show? It's like just a bunch of people in boardrooms kind of talking. But like the show is so well written, and that like it's just like Andor. Like every conversation is just like the one between Lonnie and Luthen or Dav. Like there's like, it's kind of like, the Game of Thrones of like corporate America, which I think is super fascinating. So, just throwing that out, I see a lot of similarities there, and like at least the writing.
Yeah, no, I agree. Especially getting hot off of like House of the Dragon. So again, a lot of like big conversations that's just so tension building, and it's amazing. I love it. And it's funny because I think a lot of people are comparing this show to like Mandalorian, which is probably the most beloved Disney Plus Star Wars show out of the 3 or 4. And that show is just nothing but action. You know, there's a lot of dialogue, but not as much compared to something like this.
I think it's just weird because, like you said, how Mandalorian's so action focused and Andor is more, I guess, more dialogue focused. I really think it's interesting seeing what do the audiences prefer. Do they like more of the war of the words, or do they like actually like the action that we're so used to seeing anyways in like all the Star Wars franchises? It's pretty like an interesting battle to see like which ones people prefer.
Yeah, and Mandalorian has like some really high highs for me. Like there's some moments, they're just some of my favorite moments in television. But I think pound for pound, I think this show takes the cake. I mean, I think it's more consistently awesome. So is that a hot take? I don't know.
Well, yo, and we have 2 episodes left, and
Mhm.
honestly, it's been amazing so far, and it makes me sad. I just realized now that we only have 2 episodes left. Like, I don't want this show to end.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, guys. Well, let's dive into the episode. And honestly, last week I said on the podcast I had the most notes I'd ever taken on an episode. And
Wow.
honestly, I'm kind like I have the least notes on this one, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a lot of it was the escape, right? And there's only so much you can talk about, like them turning corners and shooting people. Which again, I think that's like what makes this show so great for a podcast, is because there's not as much of that. There's a lot more to chew on, but yeah, we can dive right in where we pick up with Kino and Andor. And they're kind of having a conversation again. Another war of words here. Andor has this great line. I can't remember exactly how it goes, but basically, like, they don't know fear until they figure out that everybody in here knows their plan and we're coming for them. So I really like this. I really love Kino. Kino's incredible in this episode. But yeah, I don't know if you had any thoughts about this opening segment here.
I want to applaud Andy Serkis, of course, like right off the bat. He has done nothing but an amazing job. I've been loving every second that he's been on screen in this show. And I think there's this one scene where he's in his cell and you just see like I compare this to like Moon Knight. We just see the entire shift tone of this man change before our eyes.
Yeah, just seeing a stubborn person who just thinks that, oh, I'm gonna get out of this place in like what 240-ish days, give or take. Not real. That was his like main focus. He didn't think about anything else in general. Just wanted to get his shift done, get his time done, and get out of there. But then after realizing, oh, they learned that even if you're gonna get out of there, you're actually not getting out of there. And like you can see, like you said, Zach, like the shift change in his face that, oh, I'm stuck here forever. And with that, realizing that, he realized, yes, we need to get the hell out of here and escape this prison. Just seeing it was so cool, just seeing the change.
So, question for you guys, and I feel like this. So, kind of jump into the end here a little bit, but we find out later he can't swim, and that's why he can't leave. So, my question is to you guys: do you think, because throughout this episode, he's even when he knows there's no other way out, he's super reluctant. When he's on the intercom, he's speaking slowly. Andor's like, "Say more, do more," and like he's always kind of like he's not sure about it. He's never too sure of himself. I'm wondering, is it because he knows he can't swim and he can never truly get out? Or did he think there's gonna like be a boat? I don't know.
I was curious how they were gonna get out. I was like, are they all gonna fit 5,000 men on ships? Completely forgot they were in the middle of the ocean. I'll be honest with that one. But there's this line he kept on. I think he said this once, but he said, "I would rather die than give them what they want." And I think something like that just very much sticks to his whole mentality and his motivation to just break free of what this prison and help everyone escape.
I'm just thinking, does he actually say that he can't swim, or was it like a lie from doing that? Like, does he not want to really escape, or is it just because he feels so changed? I don't know. It's just, I have a feeling for some reason in my head, it's like, what if he's just doing it just for mentality's sake, I guess, or just because, or I could be wrong that he actually just wants to get out of there. But again, like, you can't swim. That's kind of weird also that you can't swim also. Like, I feel like most people should know how to swim, but I guess with him, I guess it doesn't work out.
Not in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm curious because, like, there's places like Camino that is like a water planet, and then there's
Mhm.
places like Tatooine, which is like a desert planet. So it's like, what planet did he grow up? Like, there's a possibility that he grew up on a planet that had no water. So
Mhm.
that would, or at least like no ocean or whatever. So I don't know. Makes me think. But yeah.
What if they make a spin-off show for him?
Oh my
Well,
gosh.
here's the thing. Actually, that was my
I could
question. What is he staying to become Snoke?
That was weird
Ooh.
because I read the cast and he was Snoke, so
Yeah.
I don't know why that happened, unless that was just coincidental or was it just came to be when I saw that. I don't know.
I was confused by that. Well, not so much confused. I was confused why fans were like rallying up against that because, I mean, it could make sense. He could become Snoke, but I just seeing how different the characters are. I guess. I mean, we've barely seen Snoke in the sequel trilogy, but it could be a possibility. I guess that'd be funny though.
It's probably not what's gonna happen. I think the truth is like Andy Serkis is probably just friends with Tony Gilroy, and Tony Gilroy is like, "Hey, look, people don't like the sequels. We'll give you another shot. This is gonna be better than that." So yeah, it works for me.
I love seeing Andy Serkis when he's not in mocap, like because it just shows how much of great actor he is. Like he's just as good without it.
Mhm. Yeah, I loved him in Black Panther as Claw. Like he was pretty
Ooh.
good character. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
amazing, amazing. But then
Incredible.
him in what was it, Planet of the Apes? I think the remakes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. It was mixed. I'll say it was mixed.
I love those movies. So
Watch your mouth, Kyle.
Oh yeah, I forgot you two are big, I guess, Planet of the Apes fans.
yeah, well enough.
I'm not
Oh,
dissing it. I still like it.
yeah. I want to talk about this here because this was something that like I was really confused about because in the past episodes we see Andor, he goes to the restroom and he's like, it looks like he's sharpening a knife. I thought he was making a shiv or something.
Mhm.
But we found out this episode he goes in there, he's actually trying to cut into it, which number one, I'm like, I don't think you're ever gonna cut through that. So he ends up like just breaking it. We find out it's like a water pipe, and I guess the water pipe, the waters can protect them from the floors. I don't know. I thought this is a little weird.
I thought it was going to shock him. Like,
Yeah.
that's like basic physics. Water and electricity that just spreads. Like it doesn't
You
make.
don't Yeah, you don't mix that unless it's because of their planet that I guess water and electricity counteract each other.
I'm guessing the water just like short circuited their system.
I guess.
See, here's my thing is like, are we even sure that it's like an electric shock on the floors? Because my question, like the way it looked especially the first time they did it, it looked like a super fast vibration, and it might have just been uncomfortable. I don't know. Maybe I guess they were kind of like stuck in place, so that would kind of imply. I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking about nothing at this point.
No, that makes sense. I always took it as an electric shock because of their rubber boots. But
Yeah.
I guess I don't think rubber would have much an effect if the floor was vibrating either as well. So like I think it could go both ways too.
I'm just thinking what it would be with the whole red, like with the red lights. Is that actually like electricity or is it just heat? Is from what I remember they talked about.
Yeah, I don't.
This
We're gonna
person's
need.
weird.
I'm gonna need the manual of these floors. But yeah, so this is where we actually start the breakout here. They like fake a fight, and then people have stopped the elevator. They're like climbing up on the elevator. A bunch of people are getting shot. They're throwing things. Any comments about the initial fight here?
Very rough.
Mhm.
I would say it definitely they were literally like what is it, shooting fish in a barrel at that point. Like they had no way of like really hiding or protecting themselves except throwing the parts at the guards.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting just having seen them throw it. It's like, okay, they have guns and you're just throwing metal parts at them. Like, what are the chances? Like you said, fish in a barrel. You can succeed, but it's going to be a very, very low percentage that you'll actually hit them. And then obviously you can see Andor, I believe, he grabs one of the guards like legs and makes him fall down. And I guess that coincidentally helps everyone else escape there. So
Tell me how one of what there's like what 30 men in that room or so.
and
Tell me
two
how one of
guards.
Yeah, two guards. Tell me how one of them doesn't get lucky to like use what they're throwing, like to just hit one of the guards in the head. But here Andor is taking 2 guards out at once.
Because it's Andor.
Yeah, pretty much.
My thought was like, why doesn't the guard just leave and close the door and shock the, like, I guess he would have like left a buddy. I don't know, but like I was like,
Mhm.
they could have been quicker. I think this could have been easily avoided.
Yeah, I think they definitely wanted to have the perspective of it being very messy and rough and not so much a thought out, well planned.
Mhm.
And I think they definitely like did a good job at perceiving that. R.I.P. Zal though. Dude started the fight. He was the distraction. Ugh.
And he died right there. I guess it like, I mean, with any sort of prison breakout, I feel like most of them are just going to be, they're going to wing it. There's not really a set plan. They have like ideas of what the plan would be, but it's not, you can never succeed in what's going to actually occur in certain prison breaks. Like looking at prison breaks in like previous movies or previous works, like most of them are just like, we're going to see what we can do and go from there.
There was a lot of tension building up as that elevator was like dropping. Like
Mhm.
they were doing a great job with that, and I thought that was really fun.
Yeah, you guys ever watch Prison Break, the TV show?
I've heard it was good.
I did. Yeah. I think I watched up to, I forgot which season. I think the season that he was in some other country. I think so
Yeah.
that's what I got up to. But that was a good show though. I did like
They
it.
like escape from one prison and then they like get sent to like a prison and then like Panama, and it's like, oh, now they're gonna do it again. And I'm
I
like,
know.
you guys are always getting sent to prison.
Mhm.
Didn't
Like
it have
that
like
one-
5 seasons?
I
Yeah,
think
something
so.
like that.
Yeah.
But I think the guy, didn't he have like tattoos all over his body just to like meticulously figure out how to break out of the prison because he was a civil engineer or something like that?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
that was cool. He actually knew what he was doing, unlike these
Definitely.
guys. But so they end up and also I'm not sure, my notes might be a little, I'm just going to talk about all this escape stuff and we'll touch on some of the other scenes after, but they end up they break into the room with the guards where they control the control room or whatever.
Mhm.
And I thought this was a really good scene. He's like, turn it off, and he's like, turn what off? And it's like, yeah, that's a valid question. But
Vague.
yeah, this is where he ends up. They apprehend these gentlemen, turn off the floors, and they take over the intercom, and we get this incredible speech from Kino.
Powerful.
Yes.
Yeah. I have like half a page of notes just on his speech alone.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was just, it impacted me quite a bit. And I thought a speech like this is what really like leans me towards loving Star Wars as much as I do. I like the one part where Andor like yelled at the guards on program now. I think that was just, I laughed at that. But yeah, just absolute chills. One Way Out, very iconic at this point. We heard it so many times throughout the episode. Very similar to This Is the Way in The Mandalorian at this point. I feel like that's how impactful that little catchphrase was.
It's just such a big, like, a victory or like a way of trying to show or a way of motivating all the prisoners like, hey, let's do this. We have to get out of there. We want to leave this place because even if we try taking our time doing it and just in general, if you want to go through prison and just do your time, it's not going to work out regardless. So just seeing Kino provide that motivation, just it gives you chills, and just showing the way that he didn't realize this was his epiphany, that it hit him that yes, we aren't going to get out of here, but we are going to get out of here. It's just crazy seeing that shit.
Yeah, and there's so much going through his head through this whole time. Kind of like I mentioned, just like what is he really? Is he really thinking that he can get out?
Yeah.
So I think that's what's so interesting. I touched on it, but like Andor just being like, "That's it. That's all you got." Like him just being like coaching. He's like his like debate coach or something. Like, come on, more. So, yeah, I thought this was Zach. Anything else on it? I don't want to. I don't want to brush by too fast.
I love the shot of the doctor. Like they included that in someone like a day before, giving them absolute no hope, and any hope that they did had, he crushed. So of course they literally did the opposite. They mirrored that that whole aspect of like, hey, now I'm the one given hope here. Doctor was just in utter shock. He was just I love the scene where you see all of the men just running around and then you catch the guards like hiding in the closet.
That's kind of sad. Like just seeing that because like they knew that they're screwed. Like, dang,
No, dude, fuck
prisoners
those
win.
guards.
Yeah, fuck 'em.
Honestly, you're right though.
They're Nazis, honestly. Straight
Dude,
up.
killing 100 men. Yeah, no, they are
Yeah.
Nazis. Killing 100 men. They don't care.
Yeah, that look that that Kino has when he's like he talks about that in his little speech there. He's like they fried 100, and the look he gives them, it's like it's just a reminder that like they didn't skimp on like the emotional weight that these guards had on the prisoners, and I think that was really powerful.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah, it was great. I loved it.
Yeah.
I think I read an article that about Andy Serkis performing this whole scene, and I saw that he mentioned that the power. I think he said this in his article that the power of the individual can help others, and if you unite, you can change the shape of the future. And it totally relates. They want to get this out of there, and he was kind of happy that, and he had to also do multiple takes of this of his speech as well, from what I read, and it shows just how big he wanted to make this show. This impact to the show, just showing that it's really cool just seeing that.
Ooh, I love that. That's awesome. Gosh, great.
Yeah,
man.
just keep bringing Andy Serkis back. Like he
Honestly.
can be like, he can be a droid knight. Like you don't have to show his face. He could like just mocap him. You just keep him coming. We love him.
Oh my
Just I want him to read me a bedtime story. I feel like that would be nice.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Dude, I like imagine him screaming at you though. Like, oh my God.
It would have to be like a
don't know
gritty
why.
bedtime story.
Just like him gritting his teeth the entire time. I don't know why.
like Little Red Riding Hood, like something like.
ASMR
man.
also on top of that.
Oh my gosh. No, I'm just sad he can't swim, man. Like, what's
Yeah.
gonna happen? Like, do you think he really stayed back?
Yeah,
I
I
like
suppose
how-
he didn't go back.
I like how Andor just gets pushed. I'm like, okay, come on. Like, how did he not get pushed too?
You'd think like one of his buddies could like jump with him, like, hey, hold on to my back, kick your legs, we'll talk it through it. There could have been something done here.
Or find like a life raft or something.
Yeah.
I mean, you're surrounded by water. Shouldn't you have like precautions with like life vest or a bow or like another ship, for example? I didn't even see any ships that they use, like, or aircrafts. Like, what the hell?
I guess this is a question maybe for you guys. Do we like the progression that Andor has been going? Like, kind of starting off as a bounty hunter, and now here he is leading yet another rebellious cause. But this one's more meaningful. This one has like actually impacted him.
Well, it's weird because like this storyline is so unexpected, and that like he got put in here for reasons or for things he didn't even do.
That's true.
And also, like every other character outside of this story, they're looking for Andor, and ironically, Andor has already been caught. Like Dedra is like putting all of her might into hunting this guy down, when in reality he's already in her imperial prison. So I don't know, it's wild.
Cairo
of wasted
breaking
money.
laws. Oh my god. No, I think it's been great. It's really cool seeing that progression as him as a character, because he was just a punk kind of at the beginning of first half of the season, just doing what he wanted to do for himself, just trying to get himself by as much as he can, kind of ignoring the Empire entirely, just surviving with what he can do. So it's just really cool to see him rally up someone as powerful as Kino, who he knew right off the bat he could. I think he had like such a pull with with everyone else in the prison.
I think I have a question for you guys. Who do you think inspired him more to grow more, for Andor to grow more as a character, with Kino or with the bounty hunters? Like, person wise.
Tough question. I think it very well could be. I don't know if it's so much a person as it is the conditions of his current situation. Again, being locked up for something he didn't do, that would piss you off. Seeing how they treated people here, I think Yulof as well. His death and seeing how they worked him to death. I feel like all of this is. I think this would make a lot of sense if he were to come out of this being like, "Oh, I'm full rebel now. There's no like, I'm not here for the money. I'm here to take down a horrible empire."
Do we ever think he's going to cross paths with Mon?
I feel like well,
I feel
so
like it has to be
actually,
done.
I mean,
yeah,
eventually he does, but like in this show, I guess.
yeah.
In
It's
this
just
season.
yeah. When we meet Andor in Rogue One, I believe Mon is the one to introduce him, if I remember correctly. So
Mhm.
they definitely have a relationship, and I would love to see them come together at the end of this series. I know there's going to be a season 2, and maybe that is more about their relationship. So yeah.
Who is his adopted mother name again?
Oh boy.
I keep trying to think. I'm trying to
Marva.
think. Marva, yeah, I think her kind of explanation. I think this was in episode 6, where she's like mentioning Clem, her husband, Andor's father. I think that really kind of like lit some form of light for Andor, but then he was able to run away like he always does with his money, and then like you continuously keep saying, Michael, like the situation. I think just really has been such a big eye opener on how the Empire is, how they're treating him, how they're treating just regular civilians, and everything like that. I think that one of the big parts was a few episodes ago when they mentioned like um, the events in Aldani like doubled everyone's sentence.
Yeah, definitely. So uh I'm ready to talk about some of the other characters we meet in this episode. Do you guys have anything else to say about like the prison break and or anything else that happened before we move on? Cool.
No.
Well, I want to talk about Lonnie and Luthen because this was an interesting development. I'm not sure if this was on like y'all's bingo board at all, but I'll tell you what, we have not talked about the theory on this podcast, but I was scrolling through YouTube, I saw a thumbnail, and it was this guy Lonnie's face circled, and it was like rebel question mark, and like I never watched the video, but that stuck in my head. I was like, people think he's a rebel, and so as I try to pay attention to it, and like basically every line he has, he's like trying to like slow down the Empire. He's like, I don't think we have to do that right now. Oh, is that the right idea? Maybe we can take a step back. Like
Mhm.
he very much is on the side of the rebels, and I think it was pretty clear in hindsight. But yes, we find out Lonnie is he's got some sort of relationship with Luthen here.
I'll be honest, this character just went right over my head. Like
Yeah, me
it's
too. It was unexpected, I feel like.
Well, that was the thing because when I saw the thumbnail, I was like, "Why would they make this minor character like somebody important?" But they did it, and it's interesting.
he's pretty much Dedra's assistant, right? Or like pretty
I
much
think
like
so.
right with her at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
So, I just going into this, I was shocked only because someone as close as like with Dedra that he is, someone who's literally trying to gun down Luthen, he has direct contact with and everything.
I guess it makes sense if you want to spy within it, you need to find someone to do that. I feel like we've seen that with also in the newer Star Wars trilogy. We had that spy within it to help out Finn and the team. So
Hux.
yeah,
Ugh.
that was another weird choice, right? It's always like
right.
the people you would expect, I guess. So,
I guess they like that way.
yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'm very fascinated about what is going to happen with this character because I feel like I could see it go two ways. I think I could see this guy dying tragically because his story seems so tragic already. Like it just seems like if you really want to put the nail in the coffin of tragedy here, it would be sending this guy off. But I can also see a redemption arc for him where like Luthen is basically blackmailing this guy. He's got all this dirt on him. He knows about his family, his new kid. He's very afraid of Luthen clearly. So I'd like to also see him get his comeuppance and like break away from both the Empire and the grasp of Luthen, who's kind of a snake in this situation.
Do we like Luthen? Do we trust him?
Definitely don't trust him.
I think I like Luthen. I think he goes to some. He has like dark methods, but in some ways, I feel like if you're going to be in a rebellion and you want to do it right, you might have to take some of these extremes. But what I appreciate about him, and I've talked about this before, is like with Rebels and the original trilogy and a lot of different books. We see all these different rebel factions, but they never really explain how they come together. And Luthen seems to be the linchpin of everything, and I really appreciate that as a character.
Yeah, I think he's an anti-hero, I would say. for sure. And
Definitely.
you know, growing up on Star Wars, we never, like you said, we never saw how the rebellion was formed. And he said it himself, like he's there to sacrifice his life to do the dirty work, so the rebellion can pretty much happen.
What about you, Kyle? Do you like him?
I'm like mixed because I can see that he has a point on why he wants to do all of this, but at the same time, is it right to do so? Is it right for him to do all these like sketchy things and all that? Like I just keep remembering seeing like the two sides whenever he's working in his art shop, talking to I can't think of anything. Talking to Mon. Yeah, to Mon and all that. It's just like, do I like that or does it make sense? But he has to do what he has to do. So I'm like mixed feelings with how I should react with him.
Right.
I'm wondering if we're going to get an episode, in probably more likely than season 2, of his backstory, kind of what has driven him to become, you know, he's comparable to Saw Gerrera at this point. He's setting up like bank robberies and everything like that. He's like blackmailing people. Like he's just as bad as Saw at this point.
I feel like the big difference is Saul is more
Open,
untrusting. I think that's the best word I could describe. Like Saul's like he doesn't want to work with anybody. He doesn't trust you. If you're in his way, he's going to cut you down just because he doesn't trust you. Whereas Luthen is like he seems to be much more motivated by the goal, and it doesn't. He does. Honestly, it seems like Saul has more morals than Luthen because Luthen will do whatever it takes to get what he wants, whereas Saul has these very strict feelings about working with other people, and he doesn't cross that for anything.
That's funny.
Okay, so do we have like a theory? Like, it almost seems like there's a big backstory between these two characters and Luthen and Lonnie. Like, you know. Is this? I would be surprised if like this was like an uncle figure to him or something. Like they seem pretty close.
Like he raised him, kind of thing, like an adoptive father.
Yeah, something like that, or like a mentor or something,
or like an old coworker or something, or like an old relation.
Yeah, boyfriends.
Yeah, there we go.
Ex-lovers.
Yeah,
ex-lovers.
I wouldn't rule it out.
No, I want to know. Because it seems like, you know, Luthen's all for the rebellion. Lonnie is, do we want to call him a rebel at this point? Because this conversation being as intense as it was very much indicated that Lonnie wants out. Like he doesn't want to, he feels trapped. And I'm pretty sure Luthen told him that he was. So I think I kind of like considered Lonnie just someone that Luthen kind of grasped his hold on early on. And then was able to, I think he mentioned he was able to push him up in the ranks to get him as close as he is with Dendra. Maybe not specifically focusing on her as a target or insights, but definitely trying to get him higher up there in the ladder.
I think it makes sense just having him do that just so that way we get someone on the inside. And what other to do that than someone that we barely know, and then we see in the end, oh, we actually know who they are in the end, and that's how it kind of works out, that now we have all these plans and all these manipulations and all that to figure out what to do with this, to get rid of this rebellion and all that.
Now it's making me think, could this be a relationship comparable to him and Andor? Like Luthen was very keen on when to contact Andor and when to get him. Lo and behold, and like Andor having the worst day of his life, pretty much. Luthen found him as a broken man, and he was able to give him these opportunities, or money wise, whatever. So I'm wondering if something kind of similar happened with Lonnie.
Yeah, and maybe that's like some, this might be foreshadowing to what happens to Andor in the future in his relationship with Luthen. Like, is Luthen going to get involved with his mother, and like, is he gonna hold that over his head? Like, is this like the path that Luthen takes? He like recruits these young men that can help him, and then he's like, well, you have no choice now. You're kind of stuck with me. Like, I could turn you in. I could hurt your family. So
like blackmail them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes total sense. What did you guys think of Mon in this episode? Only because they keep hinting at her so much. I do enjoy the politics. I know Kyle doesn't so much.
Yeah.
I like the action scenes, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I still
Um,
like some of the dialogue. But yeah, I like action.
Mon's my favorite character. I love Mon to death.
Ooh.
I thought the scene that she has here with Davo is really incredible, and I think some of it is is she being too picky? Like if should she adapt some of Luthen's strategy where like you just got to do what you got to do to get it done. What I found interesting is we get this. Zach, we talked about House of the Dragon and arranged marriages. Davo basically brings up like, hey, I can help you out. Just we'll set up a date between our kids, and she's not having it. And what I found really interesting about this is not only does she not trust him from the get-go, we saw her in the last episode like be like, no, I'm not working with this scumbag, but she also was in an arranged marriage and she's clearly very unhappy now. So the fact that she's willing to be like, it's not even, it's like the fact that like I've been through that, I would never put my daughter through that. Like I thought this was really powerful and explain more about her character to me.
No, yeah, I loved it. I thought she was very, very, very content in this episode. Like just that conversation she was having with Davo, like I was that just her meaner, her tone she was portraying, like very, very strict, professional, whatnot. And I think the reason why they keep going her back and forth between Mon and Luthen and even Andor is because she's trying to fight the Empire the right way. She's trying to do it without getting her hands dirty as much as possible. So I think those are kind of doing a great job going back and forth between the two. She's doing it under the table, whereas Luthen's like, you need to get down and dirty. Like you need to pretty much steal, what is it, a quarter payroll to actually make a difference.
I think it's just interesting seeing the battle, just seeing everyone's way of trying to win, like fighting versus having someone with a spy versus getting someone on the inside. Like everyone has their own way of getting to their goal, and it's just interesting seeing how everyone wants to approach it. And we're seeing all those different storylines, and I'm hoping all three of these storylines kind of like merge into one to see the final end goal.
She has good morals, which I think is really good because right off the bat we see Andor kill people. So she's kind of like the light inside all of this darkness that is this show.
Yeah, Kyle, I think that was really well said because like everyone has not only their own motivation but their own way of going about it. I think Zach, you brought it up before. I think Luthen's motivation is more of a mystery to us, so I would love to see more of that backstory. But he is more of the cutthroat one. She's more of like the reserved, and she's like kind of like you said. And then Andor, like for the most part, at least up to this point, Andor's like, I just want money. I'm doing this all for money. I don't really care. Like I know there's some things with like the Empire in his past that upset him, but like that's not enough for him to become a rebel. So I think it's really interesting. I do want to point out this line from Davo. I thought this was really fun. I'm gonna get a really good play out of the sound clip here with Tommy.
That's the first untrue thing you've said.
I don't know. I just really, he totally calls her out. He's like, she says, I'm not considering it. And he's like, yeah, you are.
I was taken back by that comment. That felt like such a Game of Thrones line. Just something to like work. Oh, okay. Definitely making you take a double take.
Yeah. So I do want to talk about this is kind of there's a couple things that like we get some shots of like Cinta in this episode. I don't have a whole lot to say about it. I wish they give Cinta more. I like Cinta seems really cool, but like she's just kind of like standing around a lot of times. But I do want to talk about this is kind of the final thing on the agenda here. But Dedra, they very briefly talk about it, but they're going forward with this plan to like stage this crash with this pilot. I had theorized that like this pilot had to be somebody important. Like, I'm really I want to get you guys' take because I'm not sure what the point of all of this is. Like, how is this going to pay off the pilot stuff?
I was gonna say, can I ask you a question on how this is like supposed to play out? I don't know if this makes sense because all it is just words. Like we don't see anything. We don't have faces to the names. She's trying. They have this pilot. They killed this pilot. And she's trying to bait out Anto Krieger. Is that correct?
Right.
Pretty much like, yeah, just like just baiting him out and just so they can get an upper hand on him.
Yeah, I guess this is. If I like got in my head, like I had to answer and say what this is amounting to. It's probably going to be the first confrontation between the rebels and the Empire. So I guess that's where it's going. It just seems so random, and like you said, it's like there's not many things on the show that just play out off screen. So
Mhm.
I don't know. It just makes me think there's something more going on here. I'm still on this bandwagon.
It
It's like
reminds me. Oh, go right ahead.
I was gonna say it's just so weird because I can't put anything to a face to it or like a name to what's gonna happen. It's just a lot of background stuff that we don't really know about yet, and I'm hoping probably within the next 2 episodes it's gonna say what's gonna happen. It's so vague. I don't know how you like about what the vagueness with this.
All they keep talking about is the pilot, pilot. Like it just
Yeah.
feels like the Rogue One storyline because that's all they did. But I feel like Anton Krieger is going to be like maybe a famous actor or someone they're really trying to keep out. Maybe even a stage name or something. I feel like there could be a possibility. Like I don't know, could be a famous actor or something.
Andy Serkis makes a comeback.
Oh my gosh, Andy Serkis in his third role.
I would literally not complain. So,
No.
uh, well, all right, guys, that's kind of. I think we touched on a little bit of everything. Any final thoughts to close this out?
I do have one point to
Yes.
make. My last bullet point on my notes is no Cyril, sweet baby Jesus.
How do you guys feel about that? Because I'll tell you this, very creepy character, kind of
Mhm.
like he almost, he's like reminds me of like a Reddit mod, like very very incel type behavior from this guy. But I will say he wasn't here this episode, and I kind of missed him.
Interesting.
Really?
Yeah. I've
I think
complained a lot about his story throughout this, so it's kind of surprising to me because most of it's like him just sitting in the kitchen with his mom. But I don't know. I'm like, I'm just so fascinated about where it's going, and I want to see more.
I saw a tweet the other day saying like his uncle better be like someone to take down an entire like Empire fleet at this point with how much they're hyping him up.
Yeah, that's
Oh my
another one.
gosh.
Again, it's like when they're referring to things off screen, like Uncle Harlow or the Rebel pilot, it just makes you wonder. So
Who are these people? I need to know.
I think it was funny. I think in your last episode you were hinted at Sorella and Deborah having a relationship. Was that right?
yes, I'm still shipping it.
You're
Think
still
it happened.
shipping it. I could see it happen. That would be like some Agents of Shield thing when we saw May and what's his name? I can't remember. One of the agents in a relationship, but I don't know. I realized it at the end of this episode. I was like, oh, we never got a shot of him. Little odd because we've literally gotten only like 30 seconds to like a couple minutes of him every episode. Again, I don't know if they're building him up at this point, but I mean, I could see him killing Deborah. I mean, I don't know if anyone else has theories. And then he just like pretty much stealing her rank. That could be a possibility. But I have no idea where he's gonna go. And I feel like Cinta and Val can just be one character, like entirely. Like they're so random, kind of sprinkled on throughout the episodes. So like I feel like it would just make more sense if like they just combined their stories as one.
It's gonna come soon. I hope so. It's just so many different plot lines, and I hope it all merges together.
Yeah. I really hope that finale sticks the landing and like it really all comes together because I think that there's a lot of interesting stuff on the board here, and I'm excited to see how it pays off. So, guys, thank you so much for doing this again.
Of course.
We don't always do it, but we got a little time left here at the end. I want to do some recommendations. Anything that you've been watching, reading, eating, doing, playing, anything you want to leave the audience with that you want to tell people to check out. Do you guys have anything?
Kyle, you make some recipes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
chef.
am
Hold on. Sorry, I'm going to cut you off real quick because this is a first.
Yeah.
I always say recommendations. I say you can recommend anything you want. Usually, people 99% of the time it's movies or TV shows. So a recipe. This is the first recipe on Star Wars. I need to hear it.
Oh, bet. So I love Gordon Ramsay, and I love watching his cooking, his steak videos. Make a steak. You can do it. All you need is get some freaking ribeye steak at your local grocery store, or even a sirloin or anything like that. Get like an inch thick steak, get a cast iron, buy some butter, buy some garlic, and some thyme. When you're cooking your steak, make sure your heat is high on that cast iron. Add some oil. Put that steak on there for like maybe 2-3 minutes. Flip it over. Cook it for another 2-3 minutes, and add some butter. That will add that flavor that you need. And add some garlic and thyme just for a little bit of spiciness. Get that extra flavor in it. Then what you're gonna do is tilt your pan, grab all that oil and butter juices, and baste it. So get a spoon and pour that juice on top of each other just to make that steak cook beautiful and delicious. Do that for a minute or so. If you like a medium rare steak, probably do that for like another minute or so. Then let it rest. And once you do that, you will have a beautiful steak. I love steak. It's one of my favorites.
Thank you for the motivation, because I will say, like, I am nervous to make a steak. Like, I don't want to. I don't want to mess it up.
You don't need a cast iron.
Yeah.
Yes, you do. It adds flavor. Cast
Does it
iron
really?
adds flavor. Yes.
What's the science behind it? Is there any science, or it just happens?
I think it's the metal. I don't know.
Okay.
I could be
I
wrong.
think it's
but
flavored, right?
you can.
Or
I know
seasoned.
p-
Seasoned.
It's
That's
yeah.
right.
People do buy like seasoned cast iron skillets, but literally, I think it's just like oil and maybe some salt that they add on their cast iron. It's a whole process, but I don't follow it, and my steak still tastes fine.
Okay.
I've been perfecting my steaks. Been taking tips from Kyle. So
Yeah. From what he
Uh,
told me, he almost burned his apartment down.
I know.
a couple times.
Zach, do you have anything you want to recommend?
Yeah, going off of Kyle's recipe, I'm gonna recommend the show The Bear. I know I watched this back in June, kind of forgot about it since then, but Kyle saw a cosplay at his recent con of someone dressing up as the main character, and that just like reignited my love for this show. It's a great show, super in your face, really intense, very raw and natural, and if you love food, like that just adds to it. But it's such a great show. You should give it a shot.
Mhm.
Easy binge.
I feel like
25-minute episodes, I think. Yeah.
I feel like I'm gonna let you guys down if I don't say something food related now.
What's your
So-
recipe, Michael?
Well, it's not a recipe, but if you see it
Recommend a
on-
beer.
Ooh, okay. Well, I'm not sure how wide this beer goes, but it's my favorite beer. It's a coffee milk stout. It's called "Gotta Get Up to Get Down" by Wiseacre out of Memphis. I live in Nashville. They sell them here. I don't know how far out that goes, but check that one out. That's pretty good.
Dang.
That sounds delicious.
And I do have
want
a food one, real quick.
Yes.
Guys, put pickles on your pizza. It's so good.
Really?
It's so good. If you like pickles, if you don't like pickles, then don't do it. But I prefer it over pineapple.
Oh god.
I don't hate that.
Oh, hate pineapple.
Yeah, I don't
Oh.
like pineapple in general. It's not necessarily like a
Oh,
pizza
okay.
favorite.
Really?
Only in drinks.
Yeah, I like
It-
pineapple flavored things. I don't know what it like
Mm.
texture or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's an enzyme in pineapple that the enzyme in the pineapple is what can dissolve your tongue.
Whoa, see, I thought you were going somewhere else because I thought there was
No.
maybe like something with pee. I don't know.
Well, there's another thing, but I don't think it's appropriate.
Yeah, I
I
don't
can
think
say
it's
another
allowed,
thing,
though.
but I don't think it's appropriate.
not an air.
Yeah.
It's funny.
But yeah, there's an enzyme in pineapple that apparently it can like dissolve some stuff in your tongue. So yeah, it's kind of scary that I think
And
about
that's
it.
why they like pineapple on pizza, because they can't taste it because their tongues have dissolved and they don't know that it's bad.
The hot pineapple activates the enzymes or something like
There
that.
you go.
Guys, this was so much fun again. I don't know who's going to do it, but I would love one of you to plug the podcast and tell people where they can find you.
Should I plug
Go
it?
for it, Kyle. Yeah.
All right. So follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts at the Nerd Dose Podcast. We release episodes, I think, every week or so, depending on the day. And don't forget to follow us on our Instagram at the Nerd Dose Podcast as well, where we make some posts about movie references, any movie news that we see, or anything that we just come about when we're scrolling through our social medias. Any cool posts, any cool movie new updates, or anything like that. Follow it. We provide some cool news and all that, and we will love your guys' support.
Cool. All right. Again,
Well
thank you
done.
so much. I will close this out here. I'd like to remind everybody to rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify, preferably 5 stars. Also, please subscribe because we're going to be here every week. So actually, we've been basically doing twice a week recently, trying to get as much coverage as possible. There's like a hold on, you guys hear about this? There's a Studio Ghibli Grogu short coming out tomorrow. I guess I'm gonna have a podcast about that. Yeah,
Coming out tomorrow.
yeah, they just
You're
announced it.
joking.
Yeah, I'm not kidding.
I love
Oh my
Studio
gosh.
Ghibli.
Yeah.
Oh my
That's
god, I'm
funny.
excited.
I heard
Came out of
about it. I
nowhere.
didn't know when it was coming. That's funny.
Yeah, you kind of heard some murmurs this past week, but like it's been announced. Yeah, so yeah, I guess wake up, watch that in the morning.
Oh, I
but
am. Shoot.
I'm gonna try to get some sort of coverage on that. Probably maybe like a mini episode.
Yeah, for sure.
But follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. You can find us. Just look up Star Wars. Also, we have merch in the bio, or not the bio, the show notes. So check that out. Also, ask us for a Discord link because we have a little Discord community going on. But that is all we got for you guys. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time. Bye.